Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Okay, Hare Krishna, willkommen zu unserer Abhishek von Shri Shri Katha und am Erdtag von Nityananda. Okay, so speaking English? So we are welcoming our Shri Shri Katha in our midst, and they came in expansion. In fact, they have expansion what is almost or even more than a soccer team. We have 6 pairs of Konnitai. And because it's the appearance day of Sri Nityananda Ram Ki, we thought, okay, now we make the long-awaited opportunity that because they are private deities, they are all worshipped privately. And so then we have here, we bathed them today. We will bathe our big Konnitai on Gopune, but today there is the bathing of all the Konnitai deities. And most everybody agreed that everybody can bathe them. Haribo! So you can come forward. We see on this side, I put a chair. This is for our small papers. Now you can use this, the children especially, they can use this chair. They can bathe comfortably, and still be please very careful, not touch the babies with the conch or whatever, and don't knock them over. And yeah, we're gonna invite them now, and please watch attentively, and then one after another, you please come. And after the Abhishek, everybody who brings somebody like this, take care that they are dressed again and taken care afterwards. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Shri Shri Nityananda Ram Ki.
Hare Krishna, devotees. Now we will sing a song by Sri Narottam Das Thakur, Punav Prarthana. This is in a small songbook, it's on the page 40. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Karo More. We can read if we have translation.
Somebody has his phone, can we find out the translation for?
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Karo More, that's the beginning. Ja. Okay, thank you. So this is the translation. My dear Lord Chaitanya, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these 3 worlds? Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls, but I assure you that you will not find a greater fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first. My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, then I may also become happy. My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be merciful to me. If you are kind to me, naturally, Lord Chaitanya Nityananda will also be kind to me. O Swarup Damodar, personal secretary of Lord Chaitanya, O 6 Goswamis, O Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatana Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Raghunath Dasa Goswami. O Lokanath Goswami, my beloved spiritual master, Narottam Das also prays for your mercy. O Srinivasacharya, successor to the 6 Goswamis, please be merciful to me. Narottam Das always desires the company of Ramachandra Chakravarti. Ramachandra Chakravarti was a disciple of Shyamananda or Srinivas? One of these two. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karamare. It's too loud. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karamare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karamare. Toma bina ke doyalo Jagata samsare. Toma bina ke doyalo Jagata samsare. Toma bina ke doyalo Jagata samsare. Bina ke doyalo Jagata samsare. Patita pavana hetu Tava avatara. Patita pavana hetu Tava avatara. Mosamo patita Prabhu Napai beara. Mosamo patita Prabhu Napai beara. Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi. Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi. Kripa balokana karo Ami boro dukhi. Kripa balokana karo Ami boro dukhi. Doya karo sitapati Advaita Goshai. Doya karo sitapati Advaita Goshai. Tova kripa bale pai Chaitanya nitai. Tova kripa nitai. Aha swarup sanatana Rupa Raghunatha. Aha swarup sanatana Rupa Raghunatha. Bhatta Juga Shri Jiva Prabhu Lokanatha. Doya karo Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa. Doya karo Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa. Ramachandra Sangamagi Narotamodasa. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Daya Karo More. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Daya Karo More. Toma bina ke doyalo, Jagata Samsari. Toma bina Jayo Gauranitai, 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 Jayo Gauranitai. Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jayo Gauranitai, Jayo Gauranitai, 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 Jayo Gauranitai. Jayo Gauranitai, Jayo Gauranitai. Jayo Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Jayo Nityananda Ram. Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Jayo Nityananda. Jayo Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Jayo Nityananda Ram. Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Jaya Nityananda Ram. Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Jaya Nityananda. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Joy Nitai. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jai Nitai. Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Gadadhara Shivasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Premanande, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Jai Nitai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Ram. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Vijanavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Dana Brajajanaranjana Jamuna Tiravanacharya Yamuna Tiravanacharya Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Nandana Brajajanaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Simhachalam Dham Ki Jai 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 Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna. Nityananda Rama Ki Jai. So Deutsch is okay? You speak Deutsch? No? Das ist immer Englisch lange. Alle sprechen Englisch? Everybody speaks English? English. So. Rosmarie, du bist, glaube ich, die beste Übersetzerin im Raum. Willst du lieber ins Deutsche oder ins Englische übersetzen? Ins Deutsche, okay. Ja, ist, glaube ich, fast gleich. Mach mal so wie du Englisch und du kannst dich da. Parampurusha kommt zu dir. Und Übersetzung. So, we are reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 5 in the Adi Leela, verse 144, 45 and 46. We will read today. Guru Varga Nityananda Dvaitacharya Shri Vasadi Arayatu Lago Sama Arya Save Prashida Save Leela Rasahaya Sabalanya Nidya Karya Sade Gaura Rajam. Please repeat. Guru Varga, the elders. Nityananda, Shri Nityananda, Advaitacharya und Advaitacharya, Shri Vasadi, Shri Vasa Thakur und andere. Andere, others. Yata, all. Lagusama, Arya, younger, equals and hires. Sabhe, everyone. Parishada, companions. Sabhe, all. Lilara Sahaya, helpers in the pastimes. Sabalanya, they all take part. Niyakarya, their own endeavors. Sadhe, execute. Gauraraja, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Translation and later purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I'll read it in German because it's in German here and then I'll translate. Diejenigen, die älter sind als er, wie Nityananda, Advaitacharya und Srivas Thakur, sowie seine anderen Geweihten, ob Jüngere, Gleichgestellte oder Höhergestellte, sind alle seine Gefährten, die ihm bei seinen Spielen helfen. Sri Gauranga erfüllt seine Vorhaben mit ihrer Hilfe. So, translation to English. Those who are older than him, like Nityananda and Advaitacharya and Srivas Thakur, as well as those who are younger or equal or higher than him, they are all his companions, and they are all helping him in his pastimes. Sri Gauranga is accomplishing his endeavors with their help. Verse 146. Advaitacharya Nityananda Dui Anga Dui Janalanya Prabhura Yata Kichuranga. Sri Advaitacharya und Sri Nityananda Prabhu, die vollständige Teile des Herrn sind seine Hauptgefährten. Mit diesen beiden führt der Herr seine Spiele auf vielerlei Weise aus. Sri Advaitacharya and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the complete parts of the Lord, are his main companions. With these two, the Lord is executing his place in many different variations. And 47. Advaitacharya Gosai Sakshat Ishvara Prabhu Guru Kanimani Tinhota Kinkara. Sri Advaitacharya ist unmittelbar die höchste Persönlichkeit Gottes. Obwohl Sri Chaitanya ihm als seinen Lehrer anerkennt, ist Advaitacharya ein Diener des Herrn. Sri Advaitacharya is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him as his teacher. Is Advaitacharya always in a position of the servant of the Lord? Erläuterung. Sri Chaitanya erwies Advaita Prabhu stets seine Achtung, so wie es seinen Vater gegenüber getan haben würde. Denn Advaita war noch älter als sein Vater und doch betrachtete sich Sri Advaita Prabhu immer als sein Diener Sri Chaitanyas. Sri Advaita Prabhu und Ishvara Puri, Sri Chaitanyas spirituellen Meister, waren beide Schüler Madhavendra Puris, der ebenfalls der spirituelle Meister Nityananda Prabhus war. So musste Advaita Prabhu als Sri Chaitanyas spiritueller Onkel stets geachtet werden, denn man sollte den Gottbrüdern seines eigenen spirituellen Meisters ebenso achten, wie man seinen spirituellen Meister achtet. Aufgrund all dieser Überlegungen war Sri Advaita Prabhu Sri Chaitanya übergeordnet und doch betrachtete sich Sri Advaita Prabhu als Sri Chaitanyas Untergebenen. In English, Sri Chaitanya always paid respect to Advaita in the same way that he would pay respect to his father. And Advaita was even older than his father, even though still Advaita always saw himself as in a position as a servant of Sri Chaitanya. Sri Advaita Prabhu, Ishvara Puri, who is the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, were both disciples of Madhavendra Puri, who is also the spiritual master of Nityananda Prabhu. So, Advaitacharya was the spiritual uncle of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore he should always be given respect. Then one should offer respect to the god brother of the spiritual master in the same way one would offer respect to the own spiritual master. Taking all this into consideration, Sri Advaita Prabhu was actually higher than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he would always see himself as the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyanangyana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Panchatatvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam Sankarshana Karanato Yashai Garbhodashai Chapayobdishai Sheshascha Kala Sanityananda Kyarama Sharanam Mamastu Namo Mahavaranjaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratuse Namaha Namaste Halagraha Namaste Mushalayuda Namaste Revatikanta Namaste Bhaktavatsala Namaste Dharanidhara Namaste Balaram Shishta Pralambare Namaste Stoi Himam Krishna Purvaja He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopipakanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Surato Pangor Mamamanda Matirgati Matsarvasva Padamvajo Radhamadana Mohanau Divyat Vrindaranya Kalpadru Mada Srimad Radangara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Upreshtalivi Savimana Smarami Srimandra Sarasaram Vivam Sivata Tatastitaha Karsham Veno Swanar Gopir Gopinata Shriyestunaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nityananda Rama ki jai. So this is a chapter in the Adi Lila where the glories of Nityananda Balaramas are described. And in this first section, the first two verses, there is a very beautiful word called Gaura Raja. Gaura Raja. So this is a very beautiful way to address Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he is the king, he is the Lord of Navadvip. So Gaura Raja is, you could say, how the Lord is present in his eternal abode, as Gaura Raja. And we have very many beautiful descriptions of how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit, Vishwambar is residing in Navadvip. Navadvip is the place of 9 islands, in present-day India, 4 hours north of Kolkata. And this place is actually an eternal abode that is never extinguished. It is actually an eternal embassy of the spiritual world. So it is described that once in a day of Brahma, once in a day of Brahma means every 4.32 billion years, when the night of Brahma starts, there is a dissolution, and the entire creation is inundated, in water. So this idea of, you could say, inundation, a delusion, is actually very common also in the Vedic texts, and it's said to happen not only once. In the Bible there's one description with Noah, and he's taking all the animals. Of each animal, one couple, 2 Giraffen, 2 Elefanten, 2 of each. And then they, at the end of the dissolution, they find this mountain, near Turkey and Armenia, and then everything starts again. So this idea of the dissolution is described as something that reoccurs every day in the day of Brahma. But of course, Brahma's life is very, very long. So in our time calculation, it's 4.32 billion years. And during the night of Brahma, everything is destroyed. Everything is inundated. But Navadvipa remains. So there's 9 islands. There's 9 sections. And they remain. It's a part of the eternal spiritual reality. And if we have spiritual eyes, if we are purified in our hearts, we can get an insight into this realm when we visit this embassy of the spiritual world. So that's the speciality of any temple of Vishnu, but even more so the holy dham, the sacred places where the Lord manifested his pastimes. So this and just like an embassy has full, you could say, the complete quality of the country it's representing, in the same way, these holy dams are that powerful. So, for example, I remember hearing from people from East Berlin how when Germany was divided into two parts, the American embassy was also there in East Germany, and people tried to, escape the dungeons of the material reality of East Germany. So, but it was not so easy to get into the American embassy, because the American embassy had 2 rows of guards, or even 3, I think. So it was like East German guards, Soviet guards, and then the American guards. So the American guards were not a problem. They will let you in. But the 2 others, they were making sure you don't get in, you don't escape. And many people managed somehow, they disguised themselves, they managed to get some American uniform, and then they enter. And as soon as they crossed the 3rd guard, they could turn around and do like this to the Soviet guards. Now I am beyond your jurisdiction. Because if they would have attacked, or crossed that line into the American embassy, that would have been the same as attacking the American state. So that's the meaning of an embassy, and that's the meaning of the Holy Dam. The Holy Dam is non-different from the spiritual world. It's directly the spiritual world, and we hear many, many stories. Unfortunately, I'm not qualified enough to remember, but when I was a brahmachari, I was 2 times or 3 times on Mandal Parikrama, where we covered, for 9 days. The first time it was even 14 days. 14 days walking around to all the holy places in Navadvip. So I think nowadays it's only 9 days or 7 days Parikrama. But there all these amazing stories are told, about how ancient these places are and how many different yugas. In most places had a story for each yuga. In Satya Yuga, this happened in this place, and in Dwapara Yuga, this happened in this place, and in Treta Yuga. So since time immemorial, Navadvip and the holy places have been there and are still there. And in these holy places, like it's described here, there's many different parishadas, companions of the Lord, who fulfill different tasks in relationship to the Lord. So the Lord is never alone. Srila Prabhupada always stressed this very, very much. I forgot which artist, but one of the artists in the beginning of ISKCON painted a beautiful picture of Krishna. And Prabhupada didn't like it. Who knows why? Because he was alone. So Prabhupada said, the picture is not correct. Krishna is never alone. Krishna is never alone. But in one interesting purport, I forgot, maybe in the 3rd canto or 4th canto, Srila Prabhupada said Krishna is always alone, because he's everything in one sense, but actually in reality he's never alone. He's always, Prabhupada said, at least a cow, a peacock, cowherd boys, the gopis, somebody should always be there. Krishna is never alone. So this is the parishada. They are accompanying the Lord, and they enhance and enable the pastimes of the Lord. So in a place like Navadvipa, one might be able to actually have an insight. It's very similar to when you hear the descriptions Srila Prabhupada gives about how one can see or hear the super soul. It's always linked to our level of purity. The more we manage to purify our hearts, we might be able to actually hear the Paramatma. So the Paramatma is in the heart. It's a constant, companion. He is seeing everything we do. He's allowing, giving permission, and managing actually our existence. But we might not be able to perceive, or consciously follow the instructions of the super soul, the Chaitya Guru, the Guru in the heart. But as we progress and purify ourselves, we become more and more able to perceive or hear the instructions of the super soul. sometimes, or maybe often, you might reach a position where you're not sure, So you're not sure. And usually you have, if you're lucky, you have some devotees or some senior devotees, a spiritual master you can ask. But still, there will be situations where you find yourselves, alone, and whom do you ask, How do you know, what is right, what is wrong, And the more you are in touch with the Super Soul, Prabhupada says very often, you can ask him questions and get guidance, direct guidance, from the Super Soul. It is possible. In a similar way, it is possible to actually see all the pastimes of the Lord while visiting the holy places. And we hear about great saintly devotees who in each corner of the holy dham, could tell this pastime happened here. This is, and not only happened, very often you could say these are Nitya Lila stans, places where this pastime is always going on. So there's Shringarvat in Vrindavan, for example. So in Shringarvat in Vrindavan, there's many things going on in Shringarvat in Vrindavan. So it's a place where Nityananda visited Vrindavan, but at the same time, this same location, it's the place where Krishna is coming Radharani's hair. So he's coming Radharani's hair, and Radharani is not looking at herself in a mirror, but is looking at Krishna in a mirror. So it's a very beautiful pastime, and it says, if you are a pujari and you want to attain siddha, perfection in the service of doing puja, you should go to Shringarvat and to pray. You should pray there. You pray in Shringarvat, you can get the blessing. Krishna was doing pujari seva to Radharani there. So if you go there, you pray in Shringarvat. This is an eternal pastime. It's always happening there. So you go there. You might not be able to perceive it, but if you pray there, you can get this blessing, to be a good pujari. And so all of these locations actually are eternal pastimes, because all pastimes of the Lord are eternal. And this is difficult for us to comprehend because we're limited by time, we're conditioned by time and space. But all the pastimes of the Lord are always constantly taking place. So in Australia, they do like this. It's way above me, so it's a bit difficult to imagine how potent the Lord is, because sometimes we find ourselves in the material world, conditioned with forgetfulness, and we might even be in a situation we don't even know what we're doing, or where we're going, or what's happening. When there's a lot of fog, or in the winter when it's snowing a lot, and you're driving, and you're just focusing on looking at the road. Maybe this happened to you, and then you're like, "Where am I?" Because you don't see much. You just see this fog, and you're driving and driving. You're like, you don't even know where you are. So Krishna is so much greater, so much more powerful, that he has the ability to perform all the pastimes always, constantly, with unlimited devotees, with unlimited, associates. It's mind-blowing. But of course here, the focus is on the main direct associates of the Lord, who always, are appearing again and again and again. So today in the morning, we already heard from Ramananda Gopal Prabhu, who was reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, how it was described, how the Chaturvyuha appear again and again. So in the Ramayana, it's Bharata, Shatrughna, Ram and Lakshman, and then in Krishna Lila, it's Krishna, Balaram, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, etc. So, or also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's a little bit different with the Panchatattva, but still the same principles, the same entities will be present, especially Krishna, Balaram, or Gaur-Nitai, Ram, Lakshman. They always reoccur again and again and again. And among all the associates of the Lord, Nityananda Prabhu is, of course, very, very unique. Very, very unique. Nityananda Prabhu is, you could say, the supreme enhancer of the pastimes of the Lord, the supreme manager of the pastimes of the Lord. He does everything. In one sense, you could say Nityananda Prabhu or Balaram is really God, you know, and Krishna is not God. Krishna is just focused on his pastimes, you know, internal, you know, and Krishna is not really managing actually. You know. Balaram is the first complete expansion of Krishna, and Balaram is managing everything. You know. Balaram is doing everything. You know. Balaram is first of all in the spiritual reality or eternally, you could say, engaged in all the rasas with Krishna. That's also very unique. You know. So Balaram, Nityananda Prabhu, is the entity that has all the rasas with Krishna. You know. He's a servant, you know, but he's also the older brother. You know. So he's always the older brother, except in Ram Lila. You know. And in Ram Lila, it was very frustrating for Lakshman. We heard about this today. You know, in Ram Lila, Lakshman had to always be quiet, you know, and accept without hesitation all the decisions Ram took. You know, very tough decisions that Ram took, and Lakshman just went along, you know, and was an obedient servant. But he was not very happy about that. So it says in Krishna Lila, he made sure he was the older brother. You know? So he was Balaram. You know? So Krishna had to follow his instructions. But still, you know, Krishna is tricky. So he still managed to marry Subhadra to Arjuna instead of Duryodhana. You know? And a few other instances, you know, where Krishna still managed, you know, and Balaram. But still, you know, he did not have to do everything that Krishna told him. So all of this is in a very, you could say, confidential internal relationship between Krishna and Balaram, and we should not misunderstand it to be some, you know, strange competition between brothers. You know, it's a very sweet, deep pastime. So yes, Balaram is the servant. Why is he the servant? Because he is expanding into all the items that are required for the benefit and worship of the Lord. You know, anything. The shoes of the Lord are Balaram. You know? The temple of the Lord is Balaram. The Midranga is Balaram. You know? Any item that is used in the service of Krishna is non-different from Balaram. You know? That's why we should treat, you know, the Midranga, the Kartalas, paraphernalia. We should treat it like Balaram, like Krishna himself. You know? And in the West, sometimes we maybe perceive these things as just, you know, as like, you know, some tool, you know, that you're using, a tool, you know, a knife, whatever. But in India, you will still see, you know, even the coconut wala is doing a puja to his knife every morning, you know. So it's this knife, you know, he's using it. And somehow any tool is considered to have, you know, some because there's spiritual significance as well, you know. And the Kshatriyas also. The Kshatriyas, they do also Astra Puja. You know? And the Shudras, once a year, they do Vishvakarma Puja, and they worship all the tools in the Vyakshat. You know? So we should also do this, you know, like organize Vishvakarma Puja, and then all the tools should be clean and, you know, worshipped. You know? And especially in a place like Simhachalam, you know, which is revolving around the worship of Nrsimhadev, anything that is here, which is used for the service of the Lord, is worshipable and is an expansion of Balaram. Most importantly, even Prasadam is an expansion of Balaram. You know? Prasadam is Balaram. You know? So in that way, the bed, the chair, the asana, you know, and sometimes the chair and the asana, the bed, becomes alive, you know, and it's a serpent snake and a serpent chair, you know, which the Lord is using, and it's alive, and it's Ananta Shesha, it's Balaram, you know, Sheshanag. It is described when Balaram left the planet, he left in a very spectacular way. You know? Krishna did not leave the planet in such a spectacular way, you could say. You know? He was resting, and a hunter mistook his foot, you know, with a part of a deer, so he was shot in the foot. You know? And this was an excuse for Krishna to die, to pretend to die. You know? So it says the atheist would believe, oh, Krishna was a normal mortal, he was killed by a hunter. But of course, in reality, we know, you don't die from an arrow on your foot, and it was a pastime. Who was, I think, in the next Leela, who was the hunter? He was Bhrigu Muni, who kicked Vishnu in his chest, and then afterwards, and there's a story afterwards as well. I forgot. But Balaram, you know the story of Balaram. Balaram went to Somnath, I think, in Gujarat, close to the ocean, and he manifested a white snake from his mouth, that then swallowed him and went into the ocean. Wow. That's how Nityananda left. No, he showed his Ananta Shesha. So Ananta Shesha is directly the bedding of the Lord, keeping him cool. And there's the most beautiful deity of Ananta Shesha with Vishnu is in Kathmandu in Nepal, Buddha Nilkanta, very very close to the ISKCON temple in Nepal, in the outskirts, close to the mountains. There's a very very beautiful ancient deity of Vishnu. It's probably from the door there, almost to where Dhiranitai Prabhu is. That's how big the deity is. Inside a big tank of water, and this beautiful Ananta Shesha snake carvings, and Vishnu is lying there. And it's very beautiful. It's like a pond temple with big bells and a Gurukula attached. So this is one of the aspects, or both actually. Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. In the pranam mantra for Nityananda Prabhu, that's how Nityananda is described. Nityananda is Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Karanadakashaya Vishnu. All of these are expansions of Lord Nityananda. Sheshanag is also an expansion of Lord Nityananda. So, but we were talking about how Nityananda or Balaram served the Lord in all the different rasas. So he's the elder brother, so that's Vatsalya rasa. He's the servant, Dasya rasa. He's also Sakya. He's a very good friend. He's the best friend. They always, especially in the pastimes of us cowherd boys. They're always playing all kinds of different games in the forest with the cows. And what is missing? Madhurya? Only Madhurya? Yeah, no, one more is missing. Dasya, Vatsalya, Shantarasa. Shantarasa, maybe like as a form of shoes. That I haven't read about it, but it would make sense. So when all the paraphernalia that Krishna uses might be in Shantarasa. But Balaram, Nityananda, is also Ananga Manjari, the younger sister of Radharani, and also has the Madhurya relationship with Krishna. So Balaram has all relationships with Krishna in all rasas. This is the unique position of Balaram. And then all the expansions in the Vaikuntha planets, the first Chaturvyuha, all the Narayan expansions, the second Chaturvyuha, and then from Sankarshana, the three manifestations of the material world, the super soul of the universe, the super soul within each universe, the super soul in each atom and each heart. All of this are expansions of Balaram. So yes, one could say Balaram is God. Balaram is doing everything actually. He's the one managing everything, and Krishna is Krishna. Krishna is better than being God. Krishna is actually a unique position. Krishna is not just God. God is too little, too boring. God is just a position. It's a job. Krishna is beyond that. And the final aspect I want to focus on, of course, is that he is Guru. Nityananda Prabhu and Balaram are Adi Guru. So they represent Guru Tattva. The spiritual master is actually within the heart, as Chaitya Guru. The Paramatma, but ultimately Krishna himself, Balaram himself, is the Adi Guru. And if we want to get an external worthy representation of the Paramatma outside, we should be very sincere. It is described that the sincerity that we master within, according to that, externally, there is a manifestation of Guru. So it's directly linked to our sincerity, what kind of spiritual guidance we get. If we are superficial and we want to be cheated, that will be also reflected outside. We might be attracted to something that is not real, or which is, partially pure, partially contaminated. So it's very important, therefore, it's emphasized to be very sincere. We have to be very sincere in our approach, very sincere in our prayers, so that Sri Guru will manifest, externally. The spiritual master is described as Sevyaka Bhagavan. He is also to be respected, like we would respect Balaram or Nityananda Prabhu, but he is the servant, Sevyaka Bhagavan. He's serving the Lord. He's not saying he's God himself. So it's a very fine line, and also confusing sometimes. In the very beginning, Srila Prabhupada was always in his typical style, sagt man schimpfen, scolding. Yeah, he was scolding all the Mayavadis and New Age people who were saying, "We are God. I am God." So you're not God. You're dog. Prabhupada was very heavy, and was always admonishing, all those who dared to say, "I am God," because we're not. We are tiny, small fractions, particles, related to God. We are spiritual, we are in nature and in quality equal, but never in quantity. We are minute, we are atomic. The Lord is Vibhu, He's universal, He's great. So, but then, after the first disciple of Srila Prabhupada took initiation, then he told them, now you have to worship me like God. And everybody was very confused. He's like, what? The whole time he's telling us we should reject and, tell them, you are dog, you're not God. If anybody says, that they are God. And now Prabhupada himself is telling us that we should worship him like God. So everybody was very confused. And I forgot exactly how it went, but I think all these young devotees, they went to Kirtanananda, I think, and they asked him, what do we do, The Swamiji is telling us we should worship him like God now, And I think Kirtanananda said, we're already doing everything for him, We already belong to him, It's natural. But philosophically, the understanding is, of course, that like God, we don't worship him as God. We don't worship the Guru as God, but like God, because he's representing the Lord. We should have full respect. And I remember one time I realized this very deeply when I saw one of my godbrothers. He had a very cool hat, very cool, from Ecuador, very expensive, woven, very fine, special straw, very fancy, nice hat. So my Gurudev came and saw the hat, and my godbrother immediately realized, okay, I think Gurudev likes my hat, So he immediately said, Gurudev, everything that belongs to me belongs to you, actually. So if you want this hat, it's anyway yours, It's not mine. So this was for me a very, very interesting, because I appreciated my Guru. I never had this thought or way of thinking that everything that belongs to me or that I have, actually doesn't belong to me. It belongs to my Guru. In the same way that everything that exists belongs to Krishna ultimately. In my small relationship with my Guru, I don't have anything actually. Everything that I have is actually the property of my Guru. And in the times of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, this was practiced one-to-one. We read that all the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta, the majority were in the ashrams, of course, but those who were grihasthas, and there were some, it was common that they would bring their entire salary at the end of the month and give it to Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, 100%. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj would take what he would need and then give them the rest so they could sustain and survive. So this deep conviction or understanding that actually the spiritual master is a representative of the Lord, you know. And the more we have a relationship on that level with the spiritual master, we will benefit, you know. And this is described in the Bhagavad Gita, you know, in relationship to the spiritual master. Wie heißt es? Tadvidi pranipatina. Yeah, Tadvidi pranipatina pariprashnena sevaya uparikshanti teginam jnanina sattvadarshinaha. So Upadesha, the instructions, you know, if we ask for Upadesha, for instructions of the spiritual master, in the right attitude, you know, you could say the degree of the attitude, you know, it changes or influences how the spiritual master will reciprocate with you. You know? This is very, very crucial, you know, very important, you know. And I realized it a little bit more when I was a close servant of my spiritual master. So I'll do only short, then you can start, we can do arati. And you can see how the spiritual master is very merciful, you know. That's the tendency of the spiritual master. It's a qualification also, to be very merciful. And even when he might not be happy with one disciple, he's still merciful, you know. But he will not equally reciprocate, you know. And you could see some disciples who had a very genuine, pure, you know, obvious, you know, very pure attitude. The reciprocation was accordingly, you know. And other disciples who might have done a mistake, you know. Singare Bhagavan ki jai, Shishi Gaura Nitai ki jai. I always forget their name. What's their actual name? Shishri Nitai Navadipa Chandra ki jai. So yes, it's very important that we understand this. You know, in the degree that we surrender, that we have faith, that we, you know, take shelter of the spiritual master, to that degree we will also, you know, feel the blessings, you know, and get reciprocation. We are all part of the, you could say, scope of the blessings of the Lord and the Guru, but it depends on us how we take it. Yeah? This is also very famous. I'll finish with this. Vishnu Jan Maharaj asked Srila Prabhupada, you know, why do you give me so much mercy? And then Srila Prabhupada said, no, I give mercy equally. You know? And Prabhupada always talks about this. You know, just like the rain is indiscriminate. It rains on the roofs, on the asphalt, on the cities, but also on the fields, on the flowers, on the trees. You know, so the trees and the flowers, they can benefit from the mercy, from the rain. So if we have the right attitude, we can blossom. You know? The mercy is there. We just have to make ourselves available to it. Nityananda Rama ki jai, Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Simhachalam Dham ki jai, Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai. So I think if there's no questions, we can just continue with Kirtan, Arati, and then Mahaprasadam. If there is something urgent, something interesting, we can, because Katha is also Kirtan.
At the beginning you spoke about Navadvip, and we know that Bhaktivinoda Thakur established the real birthplace of Mahaprabhu. And then I wondered, because as far as I know, there's a very important holy place in Navadvip, where the house of Vishnu Priya, where she has also her deity of Mahaprabhu. But this temple is in Navadvip, on the other side of the Ganga. So how is that? Because if Mahaprabhu, maybe, okay, he was born on the other side of the Ganga and then he moved to there and lived there, or what is this place? Is this was his house, or why is the temple there, and what's the connection?
Dameshwar Mahaprabhu.
Yes,
no?
yes, Dameshwar.
Dameshwar Mahaprabhu, very amazing place. Is a almost life-size deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which was worshipped by Vishnu Priya, and the silver shoes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are still there, and you can get them on your head. Very powerful. But I don't know the history of this place, but what I know is that you know, to think about the banks of the Ganges, you know, it's not a good idea, because the Ganges changes course all the time.
But
so
in our remembrance, it doesn't change that drastically, that suddenly the whole town is on the other side, right? Now it moved maybe a bit between these two places.
It changes a lot.
But it can, of course, in hundreds of years change so much that
Yeah. So I don't know if the place of, but it's very important to understand that the reason why there is some confusion about, where the birthplace of Chaitanya Prabhu really was, is because, the even within the time I've been to Mayapur, I've seen a big difference. The Prabhupada God, is moving away from Mayapur. After every rainy season, you can see a huge difference already. It's like the banks shift very, very dramatically, actually. And the reason why in Germany we don't experience it too much is because, I forgot which Kaiser, he decided to embank most of the rivers, especially the Rhine. The Rhine was a huge river, and it used to swallow entire towns. So they they controlled it, and make embankments of stone to control it. But the rivers change very dramatically. Even within a few decades, you can see a change, and in a few centuries, everything can change. So, but yeah, I don't know if that temple is considered to be the house where Vishnu Priya used to worship, because usually, traditionally, of course, the wife would move into the house of the husband. So you could say the birthplace should also be the residence of where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to reside and where his wife would have worshipped then afterwards. But yeah, I don't know what exactly the claim is of the Meshwar. The deity for sure is real, but if the location has changed in recent times, I don't really know. Yeah. Okay.
So thank you. It was worshipped from two persons worshipped actually. Two persons were involved. The other was Vamshivadan Thakur. Who was actually like a shiksha of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Diksha of Vishnu Priya, interestingly. And he's considered like incarnation of Krishna's flute. And so he would, because he was disciple of Vishnu Priya, he got instruction by Mahaprabhu to help. When Mahaprabhu took sannyas, Mahaprabhu told him, you stay with Shachimata and Vishnu Priya and you serve them and you help them. And then later on, they had a dream, and the Mahaprabhu said, you cut the tree, the neem tree under which I was born, and you make a deity out of it. And this is Dameshwar. And so they say that there is even under the lotus feet of the deity, there is the name of Vamshivadan Thakur carved in. So like a deity of Vamshivadan Thakur. And so in the deity itself, you can read, Vamshivadan's name. And so they would both worship, like Vishnu Priya and Vamshivadan Thakur, they would both worship this deity. When Vishnu Priya left the earthly plane, then Vamshivadan continued to worship, and deity moved to some other place, even outside of Navadvip. I don't know exactly the whole story. And so this temple, I think, was built later. Where the deity now resides, it was built later. But then there is a story that Vishnu Priya entered the deity. So Vishnu Priya disappeared. Like we have story with Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu entered also this deity in Eka Chakra. What is the name with B?
I don't know. I know Tuta Gopinath also. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered into Tuta Gopinath.
Yeah. But this is Krishna deity where Nityananda Prabhu entered, and this Mahaprabhu deity Vishnu Priya entered. That's why you will sometimes see, like I think in the morning they dress this deity in sari every day. One part of the day the deity is in a sari, so it is Vishnu Priya actually. And then later on it's in a dhoti. It's Mahaprabhu. So it's very interesting deity. And it's because I was now there in August, so I got some chance to learn and hear some about this deity. And I have a feeling it's like Radha Govinda in Jaipur. How whole town is worshipping this deity. Actually, this Dameshwar is the main deity of Navadvip. So everybody is like devoted to this deity. It's really amazing.
Jai.
Yeah. No. Because Vishnu Priya is also inside of this deity. It's Mahaprabhu. They see it. It's Mahaprabhu and Vishnu Priya, not only Mahaprabhu. Yeah. Yeah, so some Goswamis also they are connected. There are many families also, like 200 families worshiping this deity in a row. Like changing, like Radharaman worship. Like they do. They sweep the seva. One family is worshiping that day, and the other family the other day, and so it's very interesting when they do.
Nice. Bashar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I have like a big gap of understanding that I cannot even state the question properly. But what I was thinking, like today is the appearance day of Lord Nityananda. Yesterday it was the appearance day of Lord Varahadev. And as far as I understood that on those appearance days of the specific avatar or a certain Vaishnava and so on, we can actually ask for the blessings directly from Lord Nityananda, for example. And then I wonder, like on Janmashtami, we can ask the blessings of Krishna directly, because usually that's not the process. We are, to get the blessings, to get the mercy of Krishna, you need the blessings of Radharani. To get the blessings of Radharani, you need blessings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then from Nityananda, and then from the Guru. So my question is, it doesn't matter which appearance. Does it matter which appearance day it is? We should always go through the Guru to ask the blessings of Lord Nityananda, for example, for today, or can we pray directly to Lord Nityananda or directly to Radharani on her appearance day and so on?
Yeah, very interesting question. There's one thing that I remember straight away in this connection that I heard is that you need to know there's always a secret, of how to get the blessings. So, for example, it says actually on Radhastami day, how do you get the blessings of Radharani? By glorifying Krishna. Because if you glorify Krishna, Radharani will be very attracted. And the way around also on Janmashtami, you should glorify Radharani. Then Krishna is very happy. So this is one thing, and the other thing is that we sometimes forget that. How do I explain it? That. The way we live, what we're doing, it's all an instruction of the spiritual master. And what we're doing is because Srila Prabhupada, told us. So we chant japa, and we are chanting directly Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. No, we're not chanting, Guru Pranam mantra. But it's very important in kirtan. And I experienced it in the Gaudiya temple in Vienna. I thought it was really, really amazing because they do very long morning program, which is not practical for preaching, but is very interesting to see how they do it. And they do, I think, half an hour Guru Kirtans, then half an hour Nityananda Kirtans, then half an hour Gauranga Kirtans, then and only then Radha Krishna Kirtans. So very systematic, they go through the sequence, and we do it also. We chant Prabhupada Pranam mantra, Panchatattva, and Hare Krishna mantra. That should be the sequence. Actually, it is even a GBC resolution. Then you should not do a kirtan without starting with Prabhupada Pranam. Prabhupada Pranam, Panchatattva, then you can sing Hare Krishna. So that's for sure you never forget that sequence. But if there is an instruction directly of the spiritual master that, to take shelter of Krishna, Prabhupada very often says that, take shelter of Krishna, chant the names of Krishna. So then we have the blessings, We're not doing anything independently. We should not have the feeling we're doing anything independently. Now I'm alone with Krishna, now I don't need anymore. This is Mayavada. Mayavada is stepping over, Or you could say Mayavada is like an usurper, You take the position, of somebody to be in a position, and ultimately you want to become God himself. By approaching Krishna, you want to usurp even the position of Krishna. So we're never in that mood. Even when we are approaching Krishna, with the blessings, with an instruction of the Guru, and that's why we're doing it. We're not taking shelter of Krishna directly because we just decided, but because we have heard, from authorities, from Guru, take shelter of Krishna. This is a special day. If you take shelter on this special day, you will get special blessings. So that's what I would say. But maybe there's some other, erudite, is that one? Erudite scholarly idea or
Nice point. Thank you. So, like, we can stand in front of the altar, ask for the blessings of Nityananda, knowing that actually, that because I have the blessings of my guru, then I am allowed to approach you directly. You
Yeah.
can say like this.
Yeah. We always come with a recommendation. And I remember reading this. I forgot which book it was, but I read it. And it was very interesting because it was described how somebody comes to the spiritual world, you know. And then, you know, just the temple president, you know, will ask, so you have a recommendation from your previous temple, you know. When you come to the spiritual world, there is, you know, so who are you? You know, what is your recommendation, you know? And then we can say, oh, Srila Prabhupada, ISKCON, Abhishek Ravinda. Ah, okay, this is a very good recommendation. But in this lila, it was a very specific lila where it was not clear, you know, who is recommending this devotee to be in the spiritual world. So they had to clarify, you know, which guru, you know, and then, okay, you have good recommendation. So we're always, you know, on the recommendation of Prabhupada, and you know, that's our connection. We're never alone. You know?
Same happened with me when I entered India at the customs. He said, "Why are you coming to India?" I said, "I want to meet the Vaishnavas." He said, "What?" Then I repeated again. He said, "What?" I told him, "ISKCON, Prabhu, ISKCON." He said, "Ah, okay, come."
Yeah, it's a recommendation. Nice. Anything else? Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Nityananda Rama ki jai, Nityananda Trayodasi Maha Mahotsava ki jai, Nitai Gaura Pramanande, Hari Hari Gaur.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya